Well, the good thing about some other movies coming out this month is that at least with Five Nights at Freddy's, I can just watch that on Peacock.
True. Welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. I am Subject 879, and I have with me, as always, Torgo. So Torgo, I'm gonna pull it on you instead. Do you
Okay.
want to play a game?
Yes, let's play a game, Jigsaw. Let's do this.
You've watched 9 of the now 10 entries in the Saw franchise, and now you must rank them from least favorite to favorite. Live or die, make your choice.
Oh,
No,
that's it?
we
I don't have to cut off any limbs or anything. That's all I have to do.
Yeah, no. Well, that's in step 2 when I make you pull out your eyeball or something.
Oh no.
So we will get into the actual meat of this discussion here in a moment, which it will take a while. I want to kind of take our time and maybe discuss each one as we rank them. But like I said,
Mhm.
I think we're gonna go from worst to best.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how we did it with
since
Friday.
since you are much like Friday, you were the introductory. I'm going to let you reveal your last, and then I will say what mine is, and we can compare. I think our
Okay.
last might be the same, but hold off to tell me. I have to pull
Okay.
up my list because I didn't memorize it or anything. I don't rehearse
S-
for this. What
Same here.
what do you think I am, a professional?
No, none of us ever claim to be professionals.
What's a professional? So while I'm pulling up my list, I just have to say, my favorite thing about having you on the show is that you will do almost anything. Um,
Yeah.
I never thought for a second I would get you to sit down and watch all 9 of these. Um, but we did, and we watched these together. I don't know if you watch any of these outside of that to kind of see if maybe it on your own it changed your perception of the film. Um,
I would have if I had more time. I'm kind of busy with other life and like college stuff right now. So, I although part of me kind of wishes I had rewatched them for this video, and we'll get into that when we talk about them. But yeah,
Absolutely, and of course that was not. I do not require that from Torgo. I
yeah,
would. That's a lot of movies to watch for a stupid ranking video.
yeah.
So, but I do have to ask: do you feel that watching those in the Discord voice chat may have changed your perception of them? Like, do you feel maybe you were missing things, or were you able to follow them?
um, I think I was able to follow them, well enough. I mean, there's things I had to like look up, stuff to as I was making my list because there's stuff I forgot about. But I mean, like they're not the most complex movies I ever made. Like
Until
they're
the very end, where they become like the most convoluted, insane. Like,
yeah. Well, I
this
mean,
is what you thought you knew.
I guess they're complex in terms of like the plot of like what literally happens, but in terms of like any deep meaning or anything, it's all just about watching people get tortured for 90 minutes.
And I have to say that is something I will give kudos for most of these movies is they somehow manage to always be creative without repeating themselves.
Yeah.
Unless, except for maybe we have to bring back the reverse bear trap because that's the iconic one.
hmm
Um, but no, there's no like grand trap that repeats itself. It's really impressive.
Yeah, no, other than the reverse bear trap like you just said, like they managed to come up with creative different traps each time. Um
And it will have been almost this just blew my mind. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of the first Saw film.
that's crazy.
It was
Um,
04.
they should have saved 10 for next year.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but yeah. Um, I think maybe when we're done with the ranking, we could probably, in no particular order, list our favorite traps.
I was actually just thinking that of either doing a favorite or just like top 5 or something.
Or like, yeah, top five, top three.
So, Torgo, before we get into the ranking, my last question for you is what was your overall impression of the franchise once you were done? Was it just, oh my God, finally we're done? Or was it like, there's something here?
I think I was more leaning towards finally we're done because of how many there are. Um, not so I don't, like I enjoyed watching through it, but it's not something I'd watch every like Halloween or anything like that. And I think we'll get into that as we talk about them, but I'm glad that I actually watched them because my previous, like impressions of this franchise was that it was kind of just like torture porn and kind of just like bottom of the barrel crap. Like I never really cared to watch any of these movies really until like we actually started watching them. And I get why people like them. And actually after watching it I see the appeal now. Um
Interesting.
but I think even in terms of horror, there's other like slasher movies I'd rather watch than binge the whole series again.
I am in a somewhat similar boat. Obviously, I like this franchise a great deal more than you do, just because I have lived with this most of my life. But
Mm-hmm.
if I was gonna pick one, it would be one of the first three to throw on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do a binge. Maybe once every few years. It's like, oh, I don't remember what happened in Saw 5 at this point. We'll watch through them. And obviously, this was a massive deal. This kind of started or restarted the annual horror sequel franchise
Mm-hmm.
in the mid 2000s after it had died out in like the late 80s, early 90s. Um, and it gave way to later franchises. You went from Saw to The Purge to no,
Paranormal Activity.
is it paranormal? It's either Saw then Paranormal Activity or Saw then The Purge then Paranormal Activity then.
I want to say Paranormal Activity comes first because
I
I
think you're
remember.
right
I
because
think
that
Purge is later.
because that first one comes out around the same time as the seventh Saw, which was the
Yeah.
final chapter. In the horror genre, can we just stop naming things the final chapter?
It's never the final chapter.
It's never the end. Friday did this twice.
Yeah.
um, and I remember being like, oh man, that doesn't look good. And the next thing I know, it's the next like, here's the third one, here's the fourth one, here's the fifth. I was like, what the fuck? We lost Saw for this?
Yeah, and I think, without getting on a tangent, I think that franchise went on to color what the horror genre became after that.
It did. I don't think you get the Conjuring without Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, which is funny because it's also James Wan.
Yeah. And I don't like either. I tried to watch that first Paranormal Activity. It's people living for an hour and a half, and like occasionally something will fly up. If I wanted to watch people live their life, I'd just go outside. Like,
yeah, that's
anyway,
a franchise I'm not familiar with, but yeah, we'll get into.
I'm too easily distracted, sidetracked. So obviously, this is a top 9, or this is a ranking of 9, since neither of us have seen Saw X yet. If we do manage to make the stars align and we both see it, we might do a quick overview, thoughts on. But I'm not promising anything. Yeah. I'm just saying we might. Torgo,
if not, we'll definitely talk about it at the end of the year.
Well, and we haven't actually reviewed any of these yet, so
right. Okay.
There's always time. Torgo, give us your number 9, and I think I know what it is.
So my number 9 is Spiral.
My number 9 is also Spiral.
I had a feeling. Yeah, I had a feeling we'd have the same. Like, I think we both also had Jason Goes to Hell in the Friday list.
Yeah, I do wonder how Spiral ranks amongst the overall fan base. If you're a Saw fan, let us know. I would love to know. But Torgo, I can't help but think, I've seen this twice. I watched it when it first came out because obviously I was very excited. Like, oh, Saw's coming back, and it's got star power. Like, whether you like Chris Rock or not, he is star power. Yep. They got Samuel L. Jackson. This is going to be good. I've seen it twice now. I can't help but think this was a mistake.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with this movie is that I feel like it takes itself more seriously than the other movies.
It takes
And
itself way too seriously, and their killer is not up to snuff.
not at all. And even, we kept making fun of this when we watched it, but down to the voice, it's like this. You go from Tobin Bell, who has this deep, menacing voice, and then in this movie, they use this, like, text, like
Text to
speech to text
speech.
voice, and it just sounds so bad.
I completely agree. Do you think this movie would have worked a little bit better with Tobin Bell?
I think he would have elevated it a little higher than it is. I think it's telling that the worst movie in the series is the
It's
one
the one
without him.
without him.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Yeah. And Chris Rock, as much of a star as he is, the man's never been a great dramatic actor. And
He's awful in this.
no, in this movie, he's playing a gruff cop, and his version of that is kind of just screaming all the time, and I can never take him. I don't know if it's just his reputation as a comedian. I can never take him seriously in this movie.
I
He's
think it's
got no presence.
I think the problem is that he's playing the serious gruff detective, but he's a serious gruff detective whose only emotion is anger.
Yeah,
And they try
and
to justify it. This is the funniest part because this movie takes itself so seriously, like you mentioned, but it's written like a comic book. He's the only
yeah.
honest cop on the force, and developed a chip on his shoulder because all the other cops have turned on him for not being crooked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But then
and
he turns around and treats them like crap. Like, he's supposed to be sympathetic, but I don't feel bad for him. He brings a lot of it on himself.
yeah, he's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah,
And
like
I think the issue with trying to do a serious Saw movie is that it's kind of an inherently comic book universe. Like, these movies are very. I mean, even if you like these movies, you have to admit they're stupid. And you kind of want to lean into that.
even that first movie, it's I would say for the most part more self-serious. It's not this over the top like, oh my god, look at all these things that you thought you knew but you didn't really know. But it has moments of levity, and like the two main characters in that first movie, I think, are at least likable. If you're gonna do the honest cop thing with Chris Rock, which can work, he can't be an asshole to everyone.
No, and I mean, I guess maybe they want to make it a little bit more morally ambiguous, or like that he's not all
But
a
then
good
he
guy.
needs to also be like a dirty cop. Not a dirty cop, but like
he needs to have his
toe
own
that line.
flaws. Yeah.
But no, he's just, I'm better than you because I'm an honest cop. And it's like, dude, shut up. Stop yelling at everyone.
Stop yelling, Chris Rock. You're not a good actor.
And then we get Sam Jackson, and he's there for like 5 minutes.
Honestly, the most forgettable I think Sam Jackson has ever been in a movie I've seen him in.
I think you forget he's in the movie for like a large chunk of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I guess... See, I'm struggling to remember already. I guess he gets kidnapped.
Yeah, he gets kidnapped, and then like the movie forgets until Chris Rock's like, "Hey, where's my dad? Has anybody seen my dad?
I gotta find my dad."
Now, I will say, if there's one thing that I will give Spiral praise for, is it does continue the brutality. I think this might be more brutal than some of the last main entries in the franchise. Because like you got that wax trap, you got like the fingers, the tongue.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe I was just too tired by the time we got to this one. I can't offhand remember any of the traps in this movie. I don't know. Maybe
I'm surprised you don't remember
me.
at least the hot wax.
Kinda, like vaguely. I'd have to watch it
because she's got like
again.
that thing on her face, and it's dripping down the hot wax on her face the whole time.
Oh yeah. No, that one's not bad.
Yeah, that is number 9.
It's number 9.
What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Saw 5.
Really?
Yeah, so and this is actually something I meant to touch on with Spiral. Well, I guess I already did just now by saying it was boring, but a certain point in this franchise, I want to say around 4. Yeah, I think like from 4 to 7.
Are you talking about Hoffman?
Yeah, these movies start to bleed together for me.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the only reason this movie is this low is that I don't remember what happens in it. Um, and yeah, Hoffman is a character that I think he's introduced in like the 4th one or the 3rd one, and he basically becomes the successor to Jigsaw after he dies.
And it's a charisma black hole.
Yeah, even though Tobin Bell is still in the movies via flashbacks, as a replacement for Tobin Bell, he does not work. Nowhere near as interesting of a character, he doesn't have as much presence as Jigsaw does. Complete charisma black hole.
And my biggest issue with him, besides just the charisma black hole, is I can't figure out his motivations, and I don't think the writers can either. Because one minute he's like Jigsaw's apprentice, and then the next minute he seems to be doing whatever he wants to do to cover his tracks. And then the next minute he's like on Jigsaw's bad side. Saw 5 is my number 7. I'll just say what number mine is when you say your entry.
Yeah.
I have that with 5 and 6 mostly. 5 is the one I think it is. 5 is the one I remember a little bit because it has the scene with the guy that gives himself the tracheotomy.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that fucked me up as when I saw this in theaters.
That was the one. Yeah, that's the one part I remember about this movie. That
and it's got Darla in it.
Yeah, so that's also a thing that happens.
And she's there.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm struggling to talk about anything else about this movie.
5 is the height of that. Like we're an annual franchise. We have to build on this ridiculously overcomplicated lore that we've made for ourselves. What insane plot twists can we make next? Because you introduce Jigsaw's ex-wife, you introduce Hoffman, you introduce more reasoning of like how Jigsaw got to this point. Yeah, I don't know. I these are all watchable, but 5 and 6 especially are interchangeable. 6, I think might be above 5 for me, just because I remember at the very least that's the insurance one.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That's definitely above 5 for me.
Yeah. So that's your number 8.
Yeah.
What is your number 7?
Well, did you talk about your number 8?
No, because I'm gonna say what mine is when you get to your.
Oh, okay.
So all right. Because you said Saw 7 or Saw 5 for your number 8, I said Saw 5 is my number 7.
Okay, all right, then we'll do it like that. My number 7 is actually Saw 7. The 3D, the final chapter.
And that is my number 8, so we're flipped on that one.
Yeah, kind of similar thing with 5 to me, where I just don't remember much about this movie. I remember that the Linkin Park singer is in it, and his trap is pretty good. I remember that Cary Elwes comes back, and the big twist at the end of this movie is that he's been working with Jigsaw the whole time.
When are we ever going to follow up on that? It's been It's been 10. It's been 10. Let's see. 10 would be 2020. It's been 13 years.
Well, since the new one's in between 1 and 2, maybe they'll touch on that. We'll see.
I will mark out so hard if he shows up on screen.
Yeah. Other than that, like some of the traps, it's above 5 because I think some of the traps are cool, and I remember more of it. Um, but other than that, it's kind of yeah. It's the final one. It feels a little bit tired at that point.
It really does. And the reason it's lower below 5 for me is the 3D. I was
Yeah,
so over the 3D thing. And this movie has it really bad, and like some of the effects are awful. I don't know if you remember
yeah.
this, but we noticed the opening trap, like the blood is pink for some reason.
Well, and I think
Um,
that stays throughout the movie. Like the blood, it's got this weird pinkish like tint to it.
yeah, and I don't know why, unless that's a 3D thing and they didn't bother to fix it for the 2D release.
That's what I'm
Um,
thinking. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it's just this movie was kind of a letdown other than that twist. And that
Hmm.
twist is cool because it's as insane as all the other great twists in this franchise.
Yeah,
Because this franchise is insane.
it kind of goes back to the similar thing of, oh, this character was working for Jigsaw the whole time.
Because anybody who survives a jigsaw trap just becomes his accomplice.
Yeah, everyone just ends up working for Jigsaw. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about 7. I guess I'll move on to my
Yeah.
next one, which is 4. Um,
Oh,
4,
interesting.
yeah, it's part of that whole like era of the franchise where like I can't really differentiate any of them. So I remember that I liked it more than 5 and
So
7. So
number 4 is my fifth entry. I like 4 quite a bit. It definitely has that like, well, we killed Jigsaw in the last movie. What do we do now? We got to make another one. But
yeah,
I like the cop guy going like to different places in the city. I like that it has a kind of a bigger scope, which is going to be really funny when we get to my number one. Because my number one is my number one for kind of a different reason. Um,
interesting.
but I like that. I like the traps. I like this idea of like almost trying to show him like this cop who is kind of a workaholic. Like this is why I do what I do, and if you could see things from my perspective, you would agree with me. I don't know if that logic makes any sense, but I like it in this heightened universe where I can't take any of this seriously anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'd have to give it a rewatch because, like, I I don't know.
Also, I'm just
It
saying
was
that is a sick ass poster, and you probably can't see it because of the camera. But
oh, I can see it better now. Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah, it's
pretty
like the
cool.
pig. It's like the pig and it's in that like hair. Oh, also four has some great traps, like that hair one. Oh God, that makes me.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was that movie. Oh God, yeah, with the hair coming off. It's
Where
so
it's like tied into
so
that thing and it
gruesome.
keeps pulling.
Yeah.
And we get not Matt. What's that guy's name? Not. He was just in that Uncharted movie. What's his name?
Oh, yeah, Donnie Wahlberg,
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. We get not Mark Wahlberg and Donnie
not
Wahlberg.
Mark. Yeah, Marky Mark's brother.
We get him
Oh
back,
yeah, that's the other thing I remember about this movie is his head gets squished.
squished like a banana.
Yeah, that's really about it for Saw 4. Next, I have 6. Out of that era, 6 is what I like. Is the one I like the most. I think just because of that, the subtext of the well, not really subtext. It's the main
The
plot, but the
text.
yeah, the criticism of like the healthcare system because that's at least something.
Yeah.
I know there's also the argument of like why is a Saw movie trying to be about anything, and I kind of see that argument too. Like it's a bit of a weird franchise to do like social criticism in, but I at least I remembered most of it. There's the kill or the trap that's like spinning, or it's like a bunch of different people on like that spinning thing with the
No,
shotgun.
6 has great traps. My biggest problem with 6, and by the way, I have 6 at number 6 on my ranking.
Oh,
Got
there
him.
you go. Yeah.
My biggest problem with 6 is that's the one that's so bloated down in plot, like the trap feels like an afterthought, which I think is a shame because there's some
Fair
really
enough.
inventive traps. And I love the ending where you find out that the wife and child isn't his wife and child. It's someone that he wronged, and that the reporter is actually his sister. And I don't care if it's dumb. I love it. I love a plot twist.
It's a good twist.
It's a great twist. It also has the greatest flashbacks in cinema history where, well, we got to put Tobin Bell in here, but how do we pretend that he's not getting older? We put a backwards baseball cap on him and it'll look 10 years younger.
Yeah, that's maybe my favorite example of taking an older actor and making him look younger in a flashback.
Yeah, so see, Saw didn't need de-aging CGI. Take notes, Marvel. Just put a backwards cap on Sam Jackson.
No, I mean, when we get to Saw X, I'm pretty sure he's going to wear a backwards baseball cap the whole movie.
Dude, that will be 5 out of 5 best movie of the year.
Yeah, yeah. No, that scene gave me major, like, that Steve Buscemi meme where he's got, like, the skateboard and it's like, how do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, overall, I thought 6 was pretty good, pretty entertaining. Obviously, it's got its flaws, but that's where it would rank for me. And next I have Jigsaw, the prequel.
What number are we on?
We're on number 4.
So we are even. Jigsaw is also my number 4, which is surprising. Cool. So I've seen this twice. Once on my own, because I completely somehow missed this when it was coming out. I had no idea they were doing another Saw movie. So I didn't see this until probably shortly before Spiral comes out. I was like, oh, this is kind of bad. Oh, wow. But then we're watching it and I'm like binging it and I'm in that Saw mood. I'm like, no, this is kind of great for like a Saw movie.
Yeah.
This is the return to form that Spiral thinks it is.
No, honestly, I thought that this was one of the better ones in the franchise. It kind of rips off 2 a little bit in how it's structured, where it's like you think that these events are happening around the same time, but then it turns out that 1 has been a flashback this whole time.
Well, and not to give anything away, but I happen to love Saw 2.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll get to Saw 2. But, you know, overall, I just had a good time with this one. I thought the characters were a little bit more likable. I like seeing Tobin Bell again in a bigger role, and where he's not just like, I mean, you know, technically it's after he died still, but he seemed like he was pushed back in the later, like, main Saw movies, even though he was still there.
Has any fictional character that doesn't come back through supernatural means died 3 movies into the 10 film franchise, but keeps coming back?
Yeah. And somehow, you know, he's still one of the best parts of the franchise despite being dead. No, but it felt like he had more of a presence in this movie, which I liked. You know, yeah, overall I really enjoyed it.
I agree. It has some really good traps. This might not be the movie to tackle this material, but you have the one plot with the mom, or with the one woman who accused her husband of suffocating the baby, but then you find out it was her. I really liked how that played out, and I liked that twist. And I thought she was sympathetic to a degree, because, you know, you don't, obviously that's not something she did on purpose, and that's a very, you know, heavy topic that I'm not going to get into, like all of that. But I liked that, and it helps that I like that actress, that's Supergirl on Smallville, and she's done a couple of horror films here and there that I've seen. And yeah. I think this legitimately works. The twist works as well as the one in Saw 2, because you don't see it coming.
You don't see it coming. I mean, it is kind of just the same twist, which maybe I'll like mark points off a little bit for that. But, you know, at the same time, I didn't predict
Well, I mean, that's why it's number 4 and not number 1.
Right. Well, yeah, we'll get to Saw 2 in a minute.
Because I think this movie does make a case for a second that maybe they've retconned Jigsaw's death or something. Like maybe he's not
Yeah.
really dead. And then it's like, oh no, it's this.
Yeah.
This was like one of his first games.
Timey-wimey shenanigans. That's how they explain it.
What if the doctor was in a saw trap?
Oh god. That
Would
be
he
awful.
regenerate? Like
he would regenerate, but like if he got decapitated or something, it would be weird.
what if he regenerated with no head?
Yeah, or no, he'd grow it back. But anyway, so number 3 is number 3, Saw 3.
I also have Saw 3 at number 3.
Okay, interesting.
This is a weird one in the franchise because it's the only one where I think that the traps, the main part of the game, is the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that.
Because I think the stuff with Tobin Bell and with Shawnee Smith,
yeah,
and that nurse, that's all great stuff. But then you cut back to the dad, and while it has some really good traps and like some like, oh my god moments, it's just like, yeah, can we get back to this? Like, I want to see this.
Yeah, now see the letdown with Saw 3 is it's a shame because I think the stuff with the traps and that guy who lost his kid, that all could be really good and really effective. But I think that character is like a little too unlikable. I don't know why. Maybe it's that actor. I don't know. And
he's too indecisive, right? Like,
yeah,
we're 3 traps in, and he's still struggling with, am I going to save this person? And in the process of struggling with that, he kills most of them.
Exactly. Yeah, he lets most of them die from just being indecisive. And I get it, like it's a complex issue, but I don't know. In comparison to the stuff with Tobin Bell and Amanda and everything in that plot, I think that stuff's all really strong, and that's part of the reason why it's that's high on my list.
Yeah, and I think with him he would have been more compelling, not necessarily likable, but compelling if he had just went one way or the other. Instead, it's just like, okay, dude, can you make a decision? Like,
exactly, yeah.
But also, Saw 3 has one of the like best or worst, however you want to say, traps in the franchise, with that one that like spins the body parts around.
Yeah, it's cringe-inducing. It's so bad. When also there's I think the freezer one is also pretty memorable, too.
It is, but it's not as graphic, so it doesn't stay with me as much. But it is still like,
right,
that would hurt, right? Like,
yeah. And also there's the one with the ribs. I think that's this movie, right?
Yeah. So that, I know I never count that one because that's the unwinnable trap that they set up to show that like something's different.
Right, because that's one of Amanda's traps.
Yeah, because she's doing that whole thing where she's like, yeah, people don't get redeemed, ignoring the fact that she also got redeemed through a saw trap.
Yeah.
Which we then later find out all of her weird behavior was Hoffman blackmailing her for some reason.
That's so dumb. This series is so dumb. No, but this is one of the stronger movies in the franchise, and
no, like I always tell people, at least watch the original trilogy of Saw films, because I think you could stop at Saw 3 and be good.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you can go on and watch, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't watch 9. Definitely watch 8. But 3 is a natural conclusion to this story.
Yeah. If you're really interested in diving deep into the madness of the rest of them, you can. But
because Hoffman's not even in 3. Yeah, because if you stop at 3, it's just, well, he ran these games and then he died. There was no second apprentice. There was no.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll see how the next one adds to that because it's kind of set around that time.
Between 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah. All right, my next one is Saw 2.
and this is where we differ again. Mine is, and this was really hard. And I think even though I have to put them in numerical order, these two are like this for me. Like I could go
Oh
back and
wow,
forth. But my number 2 is Saw 1.
wow! I think I should have seen this coming,
Yeah.
because I know you're a big Saw 2 fan. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I
Saw.
meant to just say what where Saw 2 is on my list, not that Saw is my number 2. Well, I've given it away now, but Saw 2 is my number 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. We'll talk about Saw 2 briefly. I just don't think it's as strong as the first one, but it's it's a little bit more gory. You know, it's they raise the stakes a little bit with the traps. It's kind of it's kind of just the first movie, but bigger, which is what a lot of sequels are.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't find it as interesting.
Narratively, I don't know if it's as interesting. However, I really like the almost haunted house aspect. And this is
Yeah.
going to go back into my thing with 4, where I said, I like how it's bigger and a bit more open. I like that this movie is open, but also claustrophobic at the same time. Like they're still trapped in an enclosed space, but it's a slightly bigger space. Instead of just a room, it's a house. And I like that it's this house where it's almost like the Home Alone house, right? Like they're stuck in this house and there's traps everywhere, except for instead of Kevin McAllister's like 10-year-old, oh, I'm just gonna mildly concuss you. It's I will kill you.
Yeah,
Kind of traps.
I'll fucking murder you.
I like that there's a bigger cast here and they all get to work together. This probably has the best team dynamic of any of the movies that have multiple trap victims. Because I feel like in the later sequels, we introduce a bunch of people, but then we kill like 7 of them off all at once, so that you're just stuck with like 1 or 2 mains. Whereas this is truly an ensemble. Like they are stuck in this house, and you're going to watch one by one as they all fall prey to these traps and their own stupidity. I like the angle of like we were all put in here by this kid's dad, or put in prison by this kid's dad, which is not Mark Wahlberg.
Donnie
Wahlberg, we love him, folks.
Damn it, Donnie. Yeah. The thing with Donnie Wahlberg and his kid, I can't really tell if that's a cop out or just like poorly executed or not.
I don't care. I love it. I love it. I unashamedly love it. Your kid will be in a safe place. He's in the fucking safe.
He's in the safe. He's literally in the safe. Yeah. I can't tell if I hate that or not. No, but I like the scenes with Tobin Bell and Donnie Wahlberg interacting in this movie, and when they get into like talking about the like philosophy that Jigsaw has as a killer. Well, I know he claims that he's not a killer, but he's definitely a killer. But that's what makes him such an interesting character.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that drives this movie up is like the original Saw is obviously very good, I would argue is the most important movie in cinema
Cinema history.
No, in horror cinema of the early 2000s was the most important. It made the biggest impact. It brought back the sequel franchise, yearly sequel. But what that first movie is missing that this movie has is Tobin Bell. And like he's there, and we'll get into it in a minute, but he's not really there. Like he doesn't get anything to do. This, we get to meet Jigsaw and we get to flesh him out. And like Tobin Bell is so good that it doesn't make you care if what he's saying is nonsense or not. You just want to hear him say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he could. I can see another actor coming into this and not taking this material as seriously or thinking it's beneath him. But Tobin Bell does a really good job of like bringing the gravitas to the role.
And he clearly loves it because he keeps coming back.
He keeps coming back. Yeah, it's probably the thing he's most famous for too.
Yeah. Well, and I think at this point he's got to be the record for the longest like reoccurring horror villain.
Yeah.
because
Well, yeah.
he's beaten England at this point.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
England would have 8,
yeah,
and
and
he
then
would be at 9 now.
he would be at 9 now because of the new one. So yeah.
That's
Um,
insane.
but overall, Saw 2 is pretty good. I guess we can briefly talk about you know process of elimination. You probably already guessed that Saw 1 is my number one.
The movie that
Um,
started it all.
the original is the best, which is not necessarily the case for some other franchises, but for this one, I think it absolutely is the case. Saw 1 is just a really well crafted detective horror movie. It gives me, huge Seven vibes, and I think that this franchise owes a lot to Seven.
7, yeah.
You know, fantastic movie in its own right, but Saw is still a great movie. It doesn't have as much Tobin Bell as the sequels do, but I also think the twist in this movie is just perfect.
I think it's the
And
best twist in the franchise.
yeah, it's definitely maybe the most iconic twist in the franchise. It's got one of the best endings, one of my favorite endings in a horror movie. Um, yeah, and Danny Glover's in it. It's just a good movie.
Yeah. You got Danny Glover, you got Carrie Ulvaeus. I never say his name right. But yeah, no, like I said, I would argue that this is the original Saw is the most important piece of horror cinema in the early 2000s. Maybe the whole
Yeah.
2000s, like up to 2010. For that whole decade. That original Saw movie kind of set the tone for what we would get, because Hostel is clearly looking at these. I would argue a lot of the Platinum Dunes remakes are looking at these, maybe not for like ideas, but style.
Like
I
atmosphere, how
I don't
gritty
know
they
if you've
are.
seen. I would say that the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I'm going to use that one for an example because I know you've seen that one. Is looking at
Yeah.
this for the way that movie looks. It's doing
Yeah.
it poorly, but it's looking at this.
I mean, I can also see that in the Friday one as well.
I keep forgetting you've seen the Friday one. I don't know how I forgot that. We did a Friday ranking.
We did a ranking on
No, I can see that too. And like you even get that, I would argue, because they do that whole like Jason Mine thing and like the bear traps.
Yeah.
It's like setting trap.
Exactly, yeah.
Jason wants to play a game. But no, I remember seeing this for the first time and the ending blew my mind. Let's see, this was 03 or 04. I keep thinking this is an 03 movie. But no, this is 04. So that would be, I would be 12. I was 12 when this came out. And I saw it after its theatrical run. I saw it on VHS tape at some point. And I didn't know who Jigsaw was. I didn't know anything about it. But my dad was like, hey, we should watch this. I went and seen it. It's really cool. So we're watching, and then you get to the ending when the body stands up. And I was just like, holy shit. And
You're
then
like, what the hell?
And then you get the Tobin Bell game over slam.
Yeah. And every time they call back to that moment in the rest of the franchise, I don't think it's really has had as much weight to it. I know they do it at least twice.
I like the Amanda one at the end. I think at the end of 2, where she does it. It's the end of 2 because she does it to not Mark Wahlberg, where she's like game over and slams it. But it's like, yeah, but you're not as good as Tobin Bell.
Exactly. Yeah,
you're just not.
And then I think Carrie Elways does it, which is
Carrie Elways does it, and like
it's
fine.
The series, but it's like at the same time, it just doesn't have as much weight to it.
I give the Carrie Elways one a pass because at the time that was supposed to be the end. It's like, okay, we're bringing this full circle, but yeah, no, it's like you can't replace Tobin Bell. He is to Saw what Robert Englund is to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Exactly.
And Spiral proves that because that movie blows.
Because that movie sucks. I mean, I think even if he had been in that movie, it still would have sucked, but it would have sucked a little bit less.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another reason that this movie is important, it launched James Wan's career. We wouldn't have The
Yep.
Conjuring without Saw. For better or worse.
I was gonna say for better or worse.
I am on record. I hate The Conjuring. I hate all those stupid spin-offs. But I like Malignant. I should show you that at some point.
Yeah, I heard it's kind of silly, but let's see.
It is, but it's in that, like, once it gets going, it's like, this is fun.
You know, we wouldn't have Aquaman if it weren't for Saw.
And I don't hate Aquaman.
No, that movie's fun.
It's fine.
It's got some pacing issues, but it's okay.
It's not the take I would want for Aquaman, but it's not Thor Ragnarok levels of bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a dumb comedy. But yeah. Anyway, that's the Saw franchise.
That is 9 movies. Noah, how would you describe the Saw franchise? What are your feelings on it besides just, oh, that's kind of fun? Like, did you get anything out of these that that make you glad that you watched them?
Well, I mean, the fact that they are just like fun movies to have on during like the Halloween season is really the main thing that I got out of them. Because there's no like deeper meaning to it or anything like that. I guess maybe outside of just the character of Jigsaw. He is kind of an interesting character just because of, you know, how he sees himself as a guy that teaches people lessons, you know, important, gives people a new appreciation for life, you know, if they're able to survive his traps. Yeah, it's just a different kind of direction for a horror villain. Like, I don't think any of the main slasher villains really see themselves as good guys like this one does.
No, I don't think any of them do. In fact, 9 out of 10 times I would say it's the opposite.
Yeah, or they know that they're evil,
and they like being evil. I'm going to use Chucky as an example because I've started season 2 of Chucky, which is wonderful. Yeah. Like, he knows he's evil and he likes being evil.
Chucky is probably the biggest example. He just revels in being evil.
It's him or Freddy, right? Like,
yeah. It's a little bit more complex with Jason and Michael, but
yeah, because it's like, are they like, Michael's obviously evil, but like, does he enjoy it?
Yeah,
I think Jason enjoys it just a little bit. Like, some fun with it. He spices things up a little bit.
I'd say the thing that makes it complex with Jason is he's a little bit more sympathetic. At least
he's a victim.
Yeah.
Now I need Jason in a saw trap.
I mean, he just destroy it with his super strength.
Did you know there's a Jason versus Dexter comic?
No, what the heck?
Yeah. I don't know if it's real, but I've seen it, and it's very strange.
Interesting.
And I'm talking about Dexter, like the serial killer from that Showtime show.
The Dexter Morgan, whatever.
Which might be my Game of Thrones, where it was like, it was really good, and then once it goes down the crapper, it really goes down the crapper. That final season might be the worst thing I've ever seen.
Did you ever see the newer show?
No, because I heard it's also bad.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. Yeah.
Well, because they gave it to they gave that final back half and the revival to Iron Fist guy.
Oh, the new revival was also the Iron Fist guy? I thought it was someone else. I think
so.
Interesting if like that's who they went to. When it's a notoriously bad final season.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But I've never seen that show.
Oh, no, they brought the original showrunner back.
Oh, really? And it still turned out bad. Wow.
Oh, that sucks. They're gonna keep going.
Oh, okay. I was always, I guess we're on a Dexter tangent right now. I was always under the impression that was like, we're bringing it back for one final season.
That was the idea, but apparently now it's getting a second season.
They're going to try to like every time they're gonna try to do like a final season, but it's still gonna turn out bad. So
Well,
they're gonna
you know
keep.
what's worse? Spoilers for Dexter, because I don't know if you care. But
Not
the
really.
revival ends with him dying because it was supposed to
Oh,
be it. So the
the,
second season is going to be about his son.
okay.
Why?
I
Nobody
don't know.
cares.
I don't know how that's gonna work.
But you should watch the first 4 seasons of that. It's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
the second best thing I've ever seen Julie Benson.
I gotta get
Darla from
around to
Angel.
that. I mean, there's so many shows I still haven't even seen Game of Thrones. I gotta
Don't.
watch that. I will because I'm a fantasy guy.
Yeah, but it's terrible. No. All right, Torgo, you have ranked the Saw movies. Now your second task in this test is to list your 5 favorite Saw traps. Make your choice.
Okay,
Live or die.
I'm gonna go off the top of my head in no particular order. There's the one from 6 where it's like the spinny thing with the shotgun. I like that one. Um, the rib cage one in 3.
Interesting.
The reverse bear trap. The one in 3 that twists the limbs. And then 2 more.
I think you said 4, right?
Oh, did I say 4? I
I
thought it
think.
was 3. No, yeah, 2 more.
No, maybe. Okay. I just can't count. It's fine.
Me neither. I don't know. I'm blanking right now. Sorry.
You have 60 seconds to figure it out.
You know what? Even though the pink blood is weird, the one at the beginning of 7 was actually kind of memorable. I don't know why that sticks out to me.
Where they had to like shove the saw back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now name your top 5 characters.
Well, Jigsaw and
That's it. So this is also in no order, in particular order. I'm gonna go the reverse bear trap. It's iconic, of course. For Saw 2, I'm gonna do the one where like she sticks her hand in the thing, and then like an idiot, she sticks her hand in the other one, and she's like stuck there.
I completely forgot about that one. I don't know how.
So that's 2. I'm gonna do the twisty one because like ow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the hair one from 4, where it pulls back. I can't remember which Saw from Saw 6. I'm gonna use the breathing one, where like every time you take a breath, it crushes your ribs.
The one with the smoker guy, yeah.
Yeah. And then in Saw 5, I'm gonna go with the pound of flesh one, where they have to like cut off, like carve pieces of themselves out because
yeah.
And as an overweight guy myself, watching that one guy just like lop off his gut. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he didn't commit enough and chop off his whole arm.
No. But also, I don't know if I buy that her like arm was more than his fat.
Yeah, when you take into account, bones, if it's just like flesh, I think bones are going to be heavier. But yeah. Yeah, that's the Saw franchise. Very curious about the new one since it's actually getting pretty good critical reception, which is kind of unusual for these movies.
There is a part of me that wonders, and I don't know if you've had this thought. You may have, because we're in the 10th entry in the franchise, right? Do you think at this point they're just like, yeah, people who like these will like it. It's good.
That could be it. Yeah, times have changed, and I think critics are less prudes now. So,
because it always cracks me up when somebody will be like, let's take Friday 7 for example, right? You look at Friday 7's reviews and it's like, oh, this is trash, this is bad. It's like, yeah, but it's not for you. We're 7 movies in. You should know this by now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, but then I'm trying to think of like critically acclaimed horror, like B horror movies. I guess not B horror, because Saw is like popular enough, but
Well, I mean,
stuff that stuff that's not considered elevated horror,
God,
whatever that term
I,
means.
you know, I have like, I hate to be this guy, but I have gotten to the point where I can't even stand the movies that are associated with elevated horror. Like
Oh no.
I like The Lighthouse quite a bit. I like The Witch.
Yeah.
I have no desire to ever watch Hereditary again. And not because it's a bad
Really?
movie. I think it's a good movie, but I'm sick to death of hearing about how it's elevated horror and how it's the best horror movie in the last 10 years when it's not.
Oh
I
wow.
just people who those elevated horror people who only watch 824 and like think they're the second God's great they're God's gift to man. I can't talk.
God's good, yeah.
Congratulations, you have ruined Hereditary. I have no interest in ever watching it again.
Damn, that sucks, man, because Hereditary is one of my favorites.
You're banned.
No, no, I don't know. I wonder when you get the chance to watch Talk to Me. I wonder
What are you
how you'll
talking
think of
about?
it.
We did a
Oh shit,
review
we
on Talk
reviewed
to Me.
that. Yeah,
No, I love Talk to Me, but it doesn't have this like fanatical fan base that Hereditary does. And like
yeah,
I don't
that's
normally
true.
let that kind of stuff affect me. In fact, I'm the first person, and Torgo, you can protest this, that says you should not let people like ruin your enjoyment of a film. Like your relationship with that film is what it is. And maybe I'll
Mhm.
go back to Hereditary in like a year or two and be like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Like this is a great movie, but I am so beyond done of these with these elevated horror people. Like
No,
I
I
love
get it.
A24 and I love what they've done, but like for the love of God, can we bring back the B movie and like good B movies? Like The Asylum
No,
has
yeah,
ruined everything.
I get it. I get it, man. Those people are so annoying, and part of the reason, part of me wants to see like a return to slasher movies again.
Do you know how
You know,
excited I will be if Saw 10 like brings about the like renaissance of the cheesy B grade horror flick?
yeah. I mean, as long as they're good, as long as they're well made,
I'm still waiting for
I'll
Hatchet
watch them.
5. Where the fuck is it? Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, not to get into a whole other tangent about elevated horror, and that whole debate, but like, I like those kind of movies, but I also enjoy Friday the 13th.
This is the
I
way.
I like to I like, more artsy movies, but then I also like to turn my brain off.
And that is the way. Like I guess we're just gonna get on this tangent a little bit. It's fine. Like we've done our ranking. If you want to stick
Yeah.
around and listen to us ramble. But like I can't deal with the whole like I only watch elevated horror because it actually talks about things. Who gives a fuck? The greatest
I
horror film of
mean,
all time is like, well, I mean, obviously it changes from perspective, but you look at any top 10 horror movies of article, 90% of them are from the 70s and 80s because they
and
weren't
yeah,
trying to be elevated. It was just they made a movie.
and a lot of the top ones are like stuff that's considered B grade, subgenre, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's one of the greatest horror films of all time. That's widely accepted as one of the best ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Halloween, Psycho,
Yeah,
those are slasher, or at least proto slasher movies.
yeah. And like Psycho, I mean, I guess it at the very least it's about DID. It doesn't handle it
Yeah.
great, but
No, because there's a big exposition dump at the end. But if
I
that wasn't
was
in there,
that
it
is
would be
the
a better
weirdest
movie.
first watch I've ever seen of a movie. Because so I've
Yeah.
seen that twice now, but the first time I watched it, I was that's a movie I was always hesitant to get into, just because it is a '60s movie and like that's a little outside of my wheelhouse, not totally. But I ended up
Yeah.
loving it. And I was like totally engrossed in it. And then you get to that scene, and it's just like, this is like a momentum killer.
Yeah. No, no, no. The movie, it gets to this big climax at the end, and then right before it ends, it slams to like it screeches to a halt to
Yeah, and then it has one of the
describe what 60s to 60s audiences what DID is.
yeah, and then it has the greatest like ending shot in all of cinema. Well,
Yeah,
okay, second ending
one
shot. I'm
one of the
sorry,
most iconic.
the
Yeah.
first Evil Dead movie has the greatest ending shot in all of cinema when it's just Bruce Campbell screeching at the camera. It's great.
Well, and actually, I just remembered the one with Norman standing or staring at the camera is like technically not the final shot, but it should have been.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it is.
No, because right after that happens, it cuts to them pulling the car out of the water.
That's a mistake.
It's a big mistake, yeah.
That's a big mistake. You end
Is
on
it-
that shot, man.
Yeah, you end on him like looking up at the camera and then
It's
cut.
so haunting.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not reviewing Psycho.
No, we're not. We've already done Psycho, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
I can't believe I forgot we reviewed Talk to Me, man. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with my
Yeah, I
brain.
was like, what do you mean when I see Talk to Me?
I'm tired.
Talked to you about it.
That's right. We talked Talk to Me.
Yeah. Have we done, I'm pretty sure we've done Psycho. I just typed in Haven of Psycho instead of Haven of Horror Psycho.
I think you didn't you review that with Dan or someone?
Yes, we did do Psycho. Okay. Oh, you know what we should I'll talk to you about that after we end.
Okay. Yeah.
I know what I want to I know what I want to God damn it, it's not streaming on there either. What the fuck?
No, I'm not gonna watch the Vince Vaughn Psycho remake, John.
God damn it.
Oh wait, I was just kidding. Is that really what you're?
No.
Okay.
No, but that is streaming.
Okay.
But anyway, guys, we are going to take there, quit there. I can't talk all of a sudden.
We're gonna end it.
We might be doing, if we do anything next week, because if it's October, I want to get some other stuff out of the way other than Shutter Shuffle. If we do something next week, I'd like to do the Frankenstein video.
Yeah.
Or at least make that the next thing we do, whether it's next week or whatever. But if we don't get to that in time, then the next thing we will do is the Five Nights at Freddy's commentary, just because that is a new film.
Well, that doesn't. I think that comes out a little bit. I don't think that's out next week.
Well, no, but that's only 3 weeks away.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just saying, depending on schedules, if we're not able to meet up within the next 2 weeks, then the next thing we'll do is the Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
But so one of those two things will happen. We're playing that choose your own adventure multiple choice. We don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
But we got some good stuff planned.
We do.
I'm excited for the Frankenstein one because I love those movies.
Me too, and I need to get that 4K set with Bride because I have the one for regular Frankenstein. You know, I get that they're maybe doing it in order, but if you're gonna put Frankenstein on a set, can you just throw in Bride of Frankenstein? Like,
yeah, I mean they're great companion people. You know, Bride is basically part 2 of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and I haven't watched any Universal stuff yet.
Yeah, and there's a lot I still need to see besides like I'm pretty sure I've seen all of the first of like the main monsters by now, but there's some other stuff I want to check out.
You reminded me I do need to see The Mummy. I have not seen The Mummy.
Oh, it's okay. It's definitely worth watching. But I'm one of those weirdos that prefers the Brendan Fraser one.
I mean, it is a superior movie. Sorry, Connor, if you make it this far in the video, but the Brendan Fraser Mummy is the best Mummy.
It's definitely a better movie than Twilight, Connor.
Yeah, no, that, yeah.